There's this dude named Zach Radcliffe. This guy right here, actually. Love the shirt. Big fan. Anyway, he performed at CPAC. He's a musical something, right? He's a singer and a songwriter and everything. He was just charged and is basically going through a trial over 60 counts of taking advantage of children or something in there. It's insane. I covered the whole story previously on this channel if you want to see it, but his dad, Frank, has a long history of covering for his son, completely ignoring his crimes and saying all kinds of messed up stuff, talking about groomers. Really, this guy talking about groomers, talking about how gay people and trans people are grooming children, while his son works for the church. I wouldn't feel right about pointing the finger back at his son necessarily, because it's the tu quoque fallacy, right? The no you fallacy. Doesn't matter if his son is doing it. We can address whether, this is a problem in the trans community. But it's not. That's the thing. It's not. It's made up. It's fictitious. This dude is repeating garbage while his son is actually doing the thing he's accusing other people of doing when they're not. So I want to listen to this sermon from him and see what he had to say. It was some anti-Islamic, anti-woman something or other. Let's listen.
Today they do something called colonization. How many of you know what that is? You do, you're living in it.
You're living in a colonized situation. Okay, go on. You got my attention.
Europe, what percentage of Europe is now Islamic?
A very, very small percentage. Muslims are the Mexicans of the UK. By the way, the algorithm is hitting me hard right now, completely ignoring me. So I'd appreciate if you watch to the end of the video. Having increased watch time as a percentage and a raw number is what pushes the video further. Also check out my books, owenmorgan.com. All right, back to the video. You know how Mexicans are always demonized and hated and all of that stuff in the United States? People say, go back to your own country, and they're trying to take us over. They're trying to replace us and all that other stupid shit. They're taking our jobs. The same shit is said about Muslims in the UK. And it's actually kind of disgusting, like really disgusting. I think Islam is like a destructive, damaging, overall bad belief system. By far. Does way more harm than good. By a mile and a half. But people have the right to believe it and practice it, first of all. They have a right to live their life. They have a right to do what they want to do as long as they're not affecting others negatively, basically. As long as they're not taking other people's rights away, right? Right-wingers in the UK are looking for any opportunity they can find to destroy human rights under the guise of they're trying to take us over. They're trying to reproduce their way into taking over the government and all this other stupid stuff. It's insane. And that's basically what we're about to listen to with this guy.
What percentage of Europe is now Islamic?
I mean, what was it before? I'm not even sure.
1 in 5.
I mean, and are his facts even real? I find more often than not, these people just make shit up. Either way, his claim is that they're trying to replace the population with Muslims. That's not how it works. It's not how it has ever worked. It's identical to the claim that Mexicans are trying to replace the white people, everyday Americans, like Mexican immigrants trying to replace American citizens and trying to get green cards so they can vote and all this other stuff. That's not how it works. That's not how it has ever worked. It's not how it could possibly work.
It started the exact same way it has started in America. They did the same thing 20 and 30 years ago.
Yeah, this is great replacement conspiracy. I'll get into it in a minute.
They sent a group of Muslims into a country, and then they just kept moving people in one after another. In the United States of America, the average white and black family has how many children? 1 point something.
Yeah, I think it's 2.5, isn't it? I'm not sure.
The average Muslim family has how many children? 7.
It's irrelevant. If that were even true, it's irrelevant. It's not how it works. David Pakman has actually debunked the Great Replacement conspiracy. The idea is that some demographic of people is going to come along and replace honest, hardworking citizens. And it's actually, it's called the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. And it has been a conspiracy theory since Germany, actually. Since Germany during World War II, Hitler was claiming that they were trying to replace us. That's why you hear people say the Jews will not replace us. That's where the term comes from. The Jews will not replace us. He claimed that the Jews were coming into Germany trying to birth their way into power and control. They're using democracy against itself to kind of create an authoritarian state or whatever. It's nonsense. Again, that's not how it works. It's not how it has ever worked. That's not how population growth works. But my point is that the conspiracy theory that the guy's laying down is identical to, the Nazi conspiracy about Jews and the UK far-right party's conspiracy about Muslims. Here's David Pakman debunking it in a second or two.
If naturalized immigrants vote for Democrats 60-40, because remember, even though a lot of people like Tucker want you to believe that all immigrants are very left-wing, the truth is that Cubans and Venezuelans are not very left-wing. There are lots of Asian immigrants that are not left-wing. There are many Eastern European immigrants that are not left-wing. Anyway, let's imagine that naturalized immigrants by a 60-40 margin vote for Democrats. That means that for every 500,000 immigrants that become citizens, that's only a 100,000 vote margin for Democrats. When you compare that to population growth, when you compare that to people who move between states, it's a drop in the bucket when you talk about bringing people in, having them wait the 5 years before they can request citizenship, and then the additional period to go through that process. If this is how Democrats are trying to win, it's a very stupid strategy.
It's just nonsense. This just is not how it works. It's just not. You would have to get like 100 million people into the country to get it to a point where it could possibly influence elections or whatever because of the ideological split. Mexicans and Muslims are not really in complete ideological alignment. It's just not logical. It just isn't. It's just built on hate, just like the anti-Jew, the Jews will not replace us garbage. So when you hear him saying things like this, keep in mind that it's just like a Nazi argument that's incorrect.
7. Ready? How many of you in this room have lived for more than 40 years? So if the whole United States of America continues producing 1.6 kids, and yet everyone that lives in this country that's Muslim produces 6 to 7 kids, what is going to be the amount of people that are in the country of white, black, and Hispanic based on Arabic?
You're assuming that every man, woman, and child is independently going to have 7 children. So how many Muslims are there? I don't know. I'm get 300,000, a million in the United States. I don't know. Let's go with a million because it's a round number. You're assuming that in 25 years, there are going to be 7 million, right? Because each Muslim has 7 children. And all 7 of those children are, well, I guess it'd be 8 million, including the original 1 million. And then all 8 million of them are going to continue to be Muslim, and they're all going to vote left wing for some reason, you think? Except men and women have children together. So actually, it's half of that as a starting value. Additionally, a large number of those people are children, not of like childbearing age. A fraction of a percent of the people, of the Muslim people in the United States are even going to be capable of and be producing children like that. Just not how it works. It's good and catchy as a propaganda line, but that's not how society or logic has ever worked.
In 40 years, there will be no position in our government that has a white, black, or Mexican person sitting in that government. Every person in our government will be Islamic.
This is why you should never trust people like this. This is when you hear people say shit like this, it kind of exposes them for how underhanded and dirty they really are, right? I mean, it kind of exposes them for who they are. And it's just disgusting.
Every one of them. Okay, now you can sit and argue that all you want to, but what's going on in our government, while our government is freaking its little brain out, I say that respectfully, freaking their little brain out about getting all of the illegal immigrants out of our country. That's not the only war that's being waged in America.
Okay, I'm not freaking my little brain out about it. I'm horrified by the human rights abuses that are happening right now. People literally being disappeared for having opinions that are contrary to what the president has. Really. Not exaggerating. This literally happened to a guy. He was just disappeared. U.S. permanent resident of the United States. Here legally. And he was abducted and disappeared for 24 hours. Nobody had any idea where he was. So I don't want to hear any of this trash about how people are freaking their little heads out or whatever. I'm disturbed by the fascism in the United States. It has appeared full-blown fascism.
It's not just bringing illegal immigrants into our country. It's bringing legal immigrants into our country that are coming into our country and are not having 1-point-something kids. They're having 7, 8, and 9 kids because they're doing the exact same thing they did in Europe.
Again, this is not how it works. And he says they're doing the same thing they did in Europe, as though Europe, there's like some evidence or something, as though Europe acts as a piece of evidence that like they're doing this. They, whoever they is, some deep state or whatever.
It's called colonization.
It's called conspiracy theory. And on top of that, it's the same conspiracy Hitler used. No way to escape it. It was nonsense in 1933 when he was peddling this shit, and it's nonsense now.
You go into a country and you take it over by out-birthing them. Now, you and I sitting here will go, oh, yay, that's 40 years from now. How old's your little girl? So she's 6, so she will be 46. How old are you? 41. So when she's his age, she will be living in a country where all leadership is Islamic.
Nonsense. You know, I found a YouTube video forever ago. God, I wish I knew where it was now. I don't even know. Like, I tried to find it a while back, but I think back when I started YouTube, like back in 2016, I remember watching this video, and they basically said, by 2021, Muslims will have outnumbered regular U.S. citizens because of their birth rate. And looking back on that, my God, I really wish I could have found it. And they did all this ridiculous math, exactly the same as this poor fool is doing. It was nonsense then, it's nonsense now. Let me rephrase. It was conspiracy theory. It was hateful conspiracy theory trash that is patently and obviously untrue. All the way back then, and it is now.
Now, what gets me is all these, and I'm sorry, I'm parking on something. I apologize. But what gets me is all these dumb women, stupid women, and gay people that are standing on college campuses and waving signs and wearing the stupid stuff of Palestine.
Oh, of course he's pro-Israel. Why does that not surprise me? Look, I'm actually pro-Israeli. I'm pro-Israeli. I want them to live their lives and not like live in fear for their lives or whatever. I want them to live life and be happy by and large. I don't want anyone to suffer. However, the Israeli government right now is depraved, horrific, disgusting, disturbing what they're doing. I say this with complete confidence and a completely straight face, zero irony behind it. Israel is doing to Palestinians exactly what Hitler did to Jews in the early to mid 30s in Germany. I feel like the people that teach at the universities, the professors and all those people, they should have seen this happening, it seems to me. And they should have worked to stop it, to prevent this kind of thing. And it's like, God, I don't know how they got here to where they are. The Israelis that watched, that study this their whole lives, and now they're supporting the Israeli government. Like, my God, dude. Horrifying stuff, really. Anyway, I gotta say, Palestinian religious belief, dominant Palestinian religious belief, they're Sunni Muslim. That shit is depraved. That shit's disgusting. Sunni Islam is really, really bad. So, don't think I'm like supporting Islam or something here. I'm not at all. It's not about that. It's about the fact that there is a powerful country that is an ethno-state that is controlling Israel and oppressing a neighboring country. That shit is really disturbing to me. And for the record, Zionists, that is people that believe that like Jews should return to Israel and take control of the region or whatever. Zionists or Zionism is a very far right political belief, and it has been for a very long time, since World War II, honestly. There's a Jewish guy named Victor Klemperer survived in Germany through World War II. He was what one would call a privileged Jew, quote unquote. He was a professor at a university. He fought in World War I, and fighting in World War I and getting like special medals for it exempted him from like a lot of like the Nuremberg laws and stuff. But he was isolated eventually. By the end of it, he was isolated in like basically a studio apartment with like 40 other Jewish people. They were literally sleeping on top of each other because they had nowhere else to go. One bathroom for 40 people. He wasn't allowed to own, a car, a typewriter, a bunch of other stuff, but he kept a diary. Victor Klemperer did, and he wrote about everything that he experienced. It's a really interesting read if you want to go through it. But he aptly points out in the 30s that Zionists, i.e. Jews from the region, were trying to push the Jewish community to Israel and made a deal with Hitler to exempt them from, like, basically let them take most of their wealth with them when they left Germany if they were going to Palestine. Which I don't necessarily have a problem with them trying to, like, save Jews or whatever. But anyway, the thing about Zionism, certainly at that time, something that Victor Klemperer pointed out in his diaries, is that basically Zionism and Nazism are two sides of the same coin. They're both far-right extremist ideologies where people are completely out of their heads and believe that there's a superior race and that every other race should be in subjugation to the first. It's just with Nazis, it's the quote-unquote white race, or the Aryan race. And with Zionists, it's the Jewish race. Same ideology. Anyway, that's what I'm like truly deeply disturbed and disgusted by when it all comes down to it. I'm disgusted and disturbed by what Israel is doing, by the fact that Zionists are in control of the government, and that they're perpetuating an ethno-state in the exact same way that Germany was an ethno-state, or they were trying to create one by the end of it. So Palestinians, that aside, what they believe aside, whatever. I'm not talking about Palestinians. I'm talking about how disturbing Israel's actions are right now.
And gay people that are standing on college campuses and waving signs and wearing the stupid stuff of Palestine, screaming their lungs out, not understanding that if they were in that country, they would have already been killed. Or
I don't know that that's true. Talking about women or gay people, I don't know that that's true. They would have been killed. I'm not sure. But you know what? It's irrelevant. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I couldn't possibly care less what Palestinians' beliefs are when they're being subjected to a full-blown genocide. Full-blown genocide. It is irrelevant to me. I care about what Israel is doing right now.
as a female, they wouldn't allow to be in the school system. And yet they're fighting for them.
Well, I'm fighting for human rights, yes.
Now, that's why I call them dumb women. Okay, now none of you ladies in here are dumb women. A few of the men are close, but none of you ladies are dumb women.
So funny.
But you understand what I'm saying? Okay, now here's the problem is that tonight this is being recorded and someone's going to pick up what I say and I am going to get all kinds of notes and all kind of wonderful people that are going to say all kinds of wonderful stuff to me because of what I just said.
Because it's dumb as dog shit.
I personally don't care.
Then why did you remove it from the website if you personally don't care? That's weird, right? Is anybody else like kind of weirded out by that? I thought you didn't care.
Napoleon tried it, Hitler tried it, and Stalin tried it. None of them were successful. Okay.
Tried what? Exactly. What does he think they were trying? Hitler, Stalin, and Napoleon? And what did they have in common with Palestinians?
So we have to sit and say, now wait a minute. If I have a brain, I mean that nice, if it says that the legs are made of iron.
Oh, that's the end of it. Anyway, wow, dude. Just straight up disgusting. So that's Zach Radcliffe's dad, if you were curious. Frank Radcliffe. Just low. Absolutely disgusting. Tell me what you think about it in the comments.